These are our reflections on the unexpected situations, both good and not so good, we went through to create and install the mud kitchen. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is that we wanted to get the correct type of wood for the kitchen.
Yeah, so before we decided to meet up at my house, we all set ourselves a challenge of going out and collecting as much wood as possible. At the beginning, we didn't really have a specific type of wood we wanted. We knew pallets would be preferable, but we just wanted to go and see what we could get hold of, what companies were willing to give us, because we're trying to do it with the least amount of money spent possible. So once we collected the wood and we met up at my house and dropped all the wood off, we then started to think about the different resources that we would need to go along with the wood.
Yeah, so we were really adamant that we wanted to use real objects and real stuff rather than have like plastic toys for the children to use, because we wanted to try and emulate them having a kitchen like they have at home but at school. And one of the things that we thought about quite a lot was the sinks, because we definitely knew we wanted to have the sinks in the units, but as for whether it should be a real sink or a not so real sink, in the end we decided to go with a plastic bowl, because it also gave the children that mobility to also take them out and move them around as well. But also with the smaller pots and pans, we wanted to think about and reaching out to different organisations to get contributions.
And we weren't entirely sure how to go about this to begin with, and we decided the best way to contact them was to send them a letter asking if they had anything they could contribute. We also gave along a list of the kinds of things we would be looking for, such as wood, varnish, screws, etc. We managed to get a lot of contributions from businesses by going in and asking them as and when we needed it. B&Q and other homeware stores were very happy to give us wood and bits of pieces when we went in asking. We were quite lucky in that Tesco's supermarket gave us a voucher, and that provided us with the money to buy the pots and the pans and the utensils that would have come at a greater cost to us had they not given us that donation. It was important when buying these utensils that we kept an open dialogue with the group to make sure that the children had the right things that we all believed, whether they were big pans and small pans, so keeping that communication open was important.
Yeah, good communication was key for our team. Both good communication with each other as a team, and obviously when we were communicating to, like Hannah said, contacts for homeware stores, but also our contact for our school, which was Danielle, the head of early years. And we had a really professional relationship with her, and also a friendly rapport with her, so it was really nice when we did go and visit school. We could kind of have, as well as being professional, we were quite relaxed, and she could really see where we were coming from, and we could see where her end goal was as well. And Matt was our main contact through school via emails, and we kept a good constant email back and forth as we went, and we've let her know exactly where we are along this whole journey, and she's let us know where she is as well as a school and as an area. She's been very, very helpful.
So just going back to the actual mud kitchen itself, at the start of the project we sat down as a team to discuss the mud kitchen layout and how we envisioned it to be. And even throughout the whole project we kept coming back as a team and deciding which sections of the kitchen would go where. So me and Matt went to visit the school again to kind of size up the area and where stuff would go. And we decided on an L shape for the mud kitchen. So we thought this was best so lots of children could access it at one time. And we put certain units in certain places so lots of resources could be spaced out and lots of children could be around the hob areas.
So now we've decided about the wood we wanted, the resources, and we've decided how we want our kitchen to look. We decided that we'd make a prototype unit to take into the school. So we just thought about what would be the most beneficial way to create this unit, and we decided to go for one of the 4 sections with a hob on it. So we started making the first unit with the big pallets that Lucy had collected for us from one of the stores she visited. We were building it, it was going really, really well. By lunchtime we had the basic shape of the pallet done, of the mud kitchen done rather, until we realised that standing next to it, it was coming up to our waist, so that it would have been much too tall for a child to use. So the speedy start we had ended up stopping, it came to an abrupt end, So we had to come up with a new plan about how we were going to create our first unit, and that was when we were lucky that a neighbour of mine has recently finished building a house, and we popped over to his house, and in his back garden he had a load of pallets that we could use. They were all 1 metre by 1 metre, so we could collect 4 or 5 pallets of exactly the same shape. When we had this pallet, we followed the same process as we did with the bigger one, and we were able to create the basic structure of it within one afternoon. So once we'd finished the structure of it, it was then painted by Hannah, and we added the hobs to it, and then it was ready to take to the school. So we packed it up in the back of Matt's car, and we went and took it to the school to see how the children felt that it had gone.
And one of the areas that maybe we hadn't quite considered was the weather, and obviously being constructed in October, November time, it was a bit unpredictable, the weather, wasn't it? So there were some days where it was raining, and so we weren't able to varnish the units outside or just work outside generally, so we were all a bit cramped inside the room. But I think it was a fairly minor point, wasn't it? Because we still managed to get everything done.
Yeah, and just talking about group dynamics as well, getting cramped in that small space.
Yeah, everyone worked well, and we kind of all dug in when we needed to, and obviously when it was raining we had to come inside. We all still worked pretty well together and got the job done. Leading on from Tom talking about our first mud kitchen attempt, and then our obviously attempt we took into the school. Our second attempt was the benchmark, and we all agreed that this is the kind of standard we wanted to set. So we basically, we knew what we had to do, we knew the structure, we knew what was going on. So we kind of went into a kind of mode of just like, right, we know what we're doing, we're getting this done. When we finished this second unit, we then realised that actually it was the same height, it was the same width, everything was pretty much the same as our benchmark unit, but it was a little bit unstable, and we couldn't quite figure it out, and it was a little bit worrying because we thought we'd followed everything through that we did from our benchmark unit. It was only that we realised when we looked to the bottom that actually, I think it was me actually, that had chipped off a bit too much wood just at the bottom. So I got a little bit overzealous with it, and maybe did a little bit more than I should have done, so it's a little bit unstable. But this was a quick fix. We just had to obviously then reattach the planks that I had taken off, and so thus we shored up the unit, and it was pretty much exactly the same as our benchmark unit.
Yeah, and just another little problem that we had was the tools and resources that we had available to us. We were lucky that Tom's dad had lots of tools and resources that we could use, and that Tom could safely use with goggles and protection and such. But one problem we have was Nick and Tom being a bit overzealous with the tools, and we had some drill bit breakage incidents.
We did. Which
kind of stumbled the progress of our construction of the mud container. But we worked as a team, and we got on with the day, and we did other little jobs that we could keep ourselves occupied instead of making this a hurdle. And
I think Tom actually showed me how to do it properly. So after I was breaking a few of the drill bits, I then rediscovered how to use it properly, and that wasn't a factor anymore.
So we'd apart from the broken drill bits, it was all going along quite well, except for we had quite underestimated the amount of resources we required. So as spoken about before, we got contributions from people like Travis Perkins, who gave us free varnishes, and Matt was very kind and bought the first tester pot for us. But we were short of varnish, and we needed this. It meant that we were losing valuable time by going off and looking in shops for more varnish to see if we could get it at a discounted price, rather than being at the workshop building our mud kitchen, because the time was running out.
Yeah, I remember one disheartening day when me and Matt went around about 5 different companies asking for donations, but you just have to plod along.
I feel like it was also chucking it down with rain as well.
It was
wasn't
pouring
it?
down, yeah.
Something that had been a concern of ours from the very start was a mud container. It wasn't in our original specification from the university, but when we first went along to the school, Danielle mentioned that it would be really good for them to have a sand pit type mud container. And we weren't entirely sure how to make it, because when Matt and Lucy went to go measure the area that it would fit, we realised we were actually looking at making a rather large structure, and none of the pieces of wood we had so far would have been sufficient. So we had lots of discussions on how we would make it and how it would be safest to connect all of the pieces of wood together. Luckily, Lucy struck gold and managed to persuade somebody very kind to give us some rather large pieces of wood, and it was something we managed to do in the final week.
As well as the mud container, the school also asked us if we could create some planters for them so that the children could use the mud in here. They would be able to then grow their own vegetables that they could then transfer and play with in the mud kitchen. I kind of took this under my wing a little bit and had a go at making them myself. So while the other guys were off making the large sections of the mud kitchen, I was sitting on my own in a little corner trying to make the planters. I realised quite quickly as I was using spare bits of wood that the two planters were going to look completely different. And although it then lost its universal effect, it kind of emphasised the fact that we were using recycled resources and not every single piece of equipment that we were going to produce would be the same, because we weren't buying any of the wood, it was all donations. So it ended up not being a problem at all, and when we took it to the school, it appeared that Danielle was very pleased with her planters.
Yeah, so talking about the sort of finished product and getting to the school, once we kind of had the mud kitchens up and in the L shape in Tom's next door neighbour's house, which is a very good space by the way, we decided that we weren't just happy with having the units there, we wanted to add more. We didn't realise where the children would keep utensils, where would they keep maybe some fruit they'd be playing with, where would they be able to store things and easily get to them. So we decided that we kind of needed to add some storage space to our mud units. We decided that some of them would have little shelves. We discovered that we would also build just little boxes that can go slide underneath, so children can easily get access these in and out. And also Matt and Lucy had a go at building a door.
We took a cupboard under our wing, didn't we?
And I think we successfully attached it.
We did.
Worked very well. Got some magnets as well, didn't we, to help secure it?
Yeah, that was one of the little problems we had. That when you shut the door, it would just gradually
swing open, yeah. But we sorted it out, which was great.
We finished with 4 units of mud kitchen, a mud container and several planters, and it was in these final weeks of construction that it suddenly occurred to us that we had to get these not only out of the house but to the school. This mud container of ours was particularly large. I believe it was almost 2 metres by 2 metres, and the thought of getting it in the back of a car was not going to happen.
Yeah, we decided, didn't we, to try and look at some local companies, hire vans, to see if they would be able to help us. But one company said that they'd already given out their charity budget for the time. We'd basically come at the wrong time of the year, and so we couldn't use those. And another company offered us a van for a morning, but it was £65. And using our idea of not having much, trying to use the least amount of money possible, it seemed like quite a steep curve for us to spend out. But luckily, Hannah had the solution.
I asked around some friends to see if they had a van, and luckily the first person to reply was my uncle, and he had a very large car, and he said if it didn't fit in the boot it would definitely fit on the roof rack. So when he turned up, although we didn't manage to fit all of the mud containers and units into the boot, we did get the large mud container on top and secured with all of its packaging inside, we thought. We put some of the units in the back of other cars, and on the journey I got a phone call from 2 lovely people sat in another car telling me that the wrapper was falling off and flying in the air.
Yeah, so we discovered on our journey that there was a pretty loud noise, wasn't there, Lucy?
It was an experience, yeah.
Because we had the mud kitchen safely attached to my boot, but the boot was partly open, and we could hear rather large flapping in the wind, which we soon realised that was our plastic sheeting to our dearly beloved mud container. So on the journey we did keep an eye on it through my rearview mirror and realised that it was starting to tear in the wind.
So I had stayed back at my house because there was still one piece of the mud container in the kitchen that we couldn't fit in the cars, and I got a phone call from Matt saying, I'm on my way back to pick you up, but would it be possible to bring some tools? We might need to do a repair before we take the mud container into the school.
So in hindsight, as much as a wonderful thing it is, we probably should have put the container upside down so that there wasn't a lot of space for the wind to catch on the flaps of the lining. But we still got it fixed when we got back to school, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think again that kind of goes to show group dynamics that we weren't fazed by this at all. I think maybe potentially we could have panicked, but we didn't. We stayed strong. We knew we had what we thought was a very impressive mud kitchen and mud container, and all the storage and all the resources to go with it. So we just knew, like Matt said, quick phone call to Tom. Let's just repair this before we go into school again, because we wanted the best possible outcome for the school. We didn't want to hand over a mud kitchen with a slight tear in the plastic sheeting. We wanted it to look perfect because it was our project. So the whole way through, our group dynamics have been brilliant. We haven't argued once. We've all got along together. We've all knuckled down, and we've just everyone's chipped in when needed. When someone wasn't quite sure of an idea, someone came up with a solution. When someone was a little bit down and wasn't sure how we were going to get it done, someone pulled us through. So it's been an absolute pleasure working with my team.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for this project and working with you guys. It was lovely.
Yes, very much my favourite project I think we've done at university. Very good fun.